Hello, welcome to this video. I think this video will be the most interesting video for the whole section of building a corporate website. In this video, we are going to look at how we can use CSS to change the design of the corporate website to what we like it to be. Let's first start with the logo. For example, the Porsche logo here that we have is on the left, but I think I would prefer to make it look centralized. It's just my personal preference. So now to do that, first usually I will inspect the element. Once you inspect the element, look for the white container. So for example, this is not on the white container, it is on the left side, a small line, and this is the whole logo, the image of the logo. And this will be the whole container. Now what does this mean? This means that this occupies the whole row in blue, while the logo only occupies the left side. So from this observation, what we can see is that we can use text align center to make this in the center of this whole row. Now this may be counterintuitive with the text align center because this is not a text, but it works as well for HTML elements. So let's begin and try if we can do that. Now by using element style, we are actually writing the style code right directly into this HTML element. Now if I write text align center, you can see the tag here has changed. The style equals to text align center appears here. And the logo has moved as well to the center of the website. So this works. So once it works, usually if there's an ID, I will use the ID. Or if there's a class or things like that, I will use those as a selector to select this particular element and apply this text align center. So for now, I'll use plus as a way to copy the ID selector. Copy this ID selector. Go back to your admin site and look for the custom CSS tab here. Remember this plugin that we have installed very earlier in the portfolio course? This is the one that we will use to have our custom CSS. So let's use the ID selector of the site logo and the code of text align center. Now this is a very common styling effect, so I remember how to type it. But if for most other styling effect that you don't know how to type, you can always refer. And once you use some styling effect long enough, you will then remember them and begin to code slightly faster. So let's update custom CSS. Now, when you refresh the page, the changes is actually live. The logo is now in the center, like what we want it to. You can see here, this is the CSS code that we have just applied on the logo. Now, for example, I want to change the whole theme color of this website. For this particular theme, there are no customization available for me to easily change the color of this theme. Therefore, we will need to use our own CSS codes again to change it. However, if the theme that you are using next time has the customization of colors available, please use them first. Again, always code as the last resort. Let's look at how we can do this from the top down. At the top, we notice that the search is in the orange-brown theme color, and we would like to change it to something blue. As an example, the text in orange-brown now in the search menu is called the placeholder text. If you type something, it's the normal text, and you will notice that it is actually black in color. Now, this is a very special case here. Let's inspect the element and see why. As you can see, there is only one element and yet two different color options. If you change the style by making it blue, like this, you can see that the text now remains the same. And when you type something, it is now blue in color. However, in this case here, we would like to change the placeholder text to blue instead of the text that we typed. To do this, we need some form of special selector. Once again, for me, I do not remember what is this special selector, so I'm going to Google it to find out. Open a new tab and search for something like input placeholder CSS. Now the input here is the element name. So let's choose the first option and see what happens. After looking through on my own, I find that this looks good. This solution looks good. It has the largest number of votes with a tick. So let's try this. Let's copy this text here. Go back to our website. Go to the custom CSS tab and paste the codes over here. So now this color might not be the one we want. So let's try with blue first. Blue. Now the reason that you see so many lines of code is because they are for different browsers. Many times you find that different browsers read CSS code slightly differently, so you will need to accommodate them by having different selectors. But in most cases, these are special cases. So in most cases, you won't have to do this. So it should be fine. Let's update and refresh the website. If you notice, our code didn't work. Now what is happening here? Most likely, in the theme codes, there are already these selectors that is overriding ours. Maybe they are more specific. So let's try with the input. Let's refresh. No, still the same. Let's try a form then. Just remove the input for now. Nothing seems to work. Seems like the only way is to use a very dangerous way. I mean, usually we try to avoid using this. But since there's no choice, seems like there's no choice here, so we have to use this to override their code. By using the exclamation mark is important, it makes this in top priority. So this should be blue now when we refresh the website. As you can see, the code has finally changed the placeholder to the color that we want. Now this blue doesn't look really nice because it's the default blue. So let's look for some other blue color that we liked. You can use it from inspecting other elements and simply changing them to see the effect and take the blue color that you want. For example, maybe I would like this blue. This blue. This blue looks good. So let's copy the hex code here and paste it back to our code here. Refresh the website Oh, there's something wrong here. It's a slight mistake, sorry. It should always be at the end here, the semicolon. So let's refresh again. As you can see, the search has changed to this color that we want, this blue. But we can't see it in the selector, I think. Because this is quite a special case. And the inspect element option just doesn't work here to make it convenient for us to understand why, sometimes our code is not working like it should be. But this is really a very rare case because usually the team wouldn't have any color for the placeholder. It would just be a default gray that is okay for most websites. But because this team has a orange brown color, we need to change it to make it look relevant to what we are going to change later, to all the colors here. So remember the color here, and we will try to make the other colors the same on the website. Going by the top-down approach, let's look at the border here. As you can see, it's the wrong color, so let's inspect and try to look for the element with that border. I think it's this element. As you can see here, there's a code here that says border top solid 2 pixel and the color. So we will need to change this color in order to have the theme color that we want. So let's go back and copy the color codes here. And by clicking it, you can change the codes here. And you can see that it has now changed the color of this border. So this is the right code that we need. So let's copy it and paste it here. Remove those lines that you are not changing to minimize the amount of codes on your website to make it, unnoticeably faster, but it is still better. So let's do it. Refresh the page. You can see that the new effect has taken place. So let's move on to the menu. The menu again, different color. Let's look at how we can change it. Now if you notice this gray color, this is now the current menu color. But this is not the hover color that we want to change. So simply select the selector of this, go back to the CSS tab and paste it here. Now to target the hovering effect, if you remember from our previous lecture on CSS, we just need to put in a colon with a hover. This means that the selector will target only what happens when the user hovers over this element. So we would like the color to be in this color instead. So let's copy and just paste it over here. Now again, color is a very common design coding, so I remembered it. So let's just use it. Update and see what happens. Refresh the page. You can see it has now changed the color of the text here. But there's still something wrong here. There's still this thing here that is the wrong color. So let's inspect element and see what is it. Oh, is this special tag here again? This is a special tag that we have not gone through in our CSS or HTML course. It's simply some additional content made by CSS on the HTML codes. This is not in the HTML codes. In fact, this is from the CSS. So for example, if you have this code here on the this selector, then you will have this blank space here by using the content. By using this content, you can set a content actually before any coding in this selector, because you can see here it's selecting A before. So for this particular special CSS selector, it makes one space here due to this code here, the content. So it has one blank space, and then that is how the team has used to achieve the effect of having this line here by making the background to be of this color. So if I change the background color to blue, you can see that the color of it immediately changes. So this is the one that is, having an effect of the color of the hover here is the A before element, which is made by a CSS selector. Now this is really a more advanced way of using CSS. So for now, maybe it's good to know that there's such things as that, but it's not important, as I rarely come across teams that use this often. So this is a very unique theme. Most other teams will just use like border bottom for the A element instead of using this. This is more for like if you want a special bubble kind of image, then you need to use that for special purposes. But most of the time, actually, you don't really need that. But since this team use that, we need to manipulate this. So let's use this selector here. This is hover before this selector here, and paste it back to our CSS codes. The only thing that we need to change is the color. So let's change the, if you remember back from the code, is the background color. Because this is a plain content, so and it has a width of 100%. So that means whenever it will select the whole width of this A element, and it's before it has the position of 100%, top 100%. That means it's at the lowest of this element. That means it's at the bottom. So you achieve this effect, and then because the content is the 100% width with this, so it will have a color, a 2 pixel height, and you have this background color here. So that's roughly how it works. Okay, there's a 2 pixel height here. So with a width of 100%, 2 pixel, and a top 100% is at the bottom of this A element with the whole length, and then the background is this color. So I hope I explained well enough. It's really hard to explain right now because this is a bit more advanced. But let's try this and see what happens. Refresh the website. Now the effect has taken place, so we have gotten what we want on the menu. Let's go down. One other important factor is this here. Right? We really need to change the color of this because this is really very outstanding. So let's look at how, again by inspecting the element. That's always how I do it. So if you can see, this is the caption. It's now invisible, hidden. So we need to change this color. This is the picture, this is the element, and this is the two different tabs. One is the title and one is the description, as you can see from the text here. So it's pretty easy to infer like which element is referring to what's happening on the website. So basically select this one and again look for the color. So the color is pretty obvious, it's this one. So let's change this. Change the background color. We use the same selector here. Now in most cases I try to use the same selector. Unless it didn't work, then I will use a more specific one. So now we need to change this to this color as well. Refresh the website. Now it has that effect now. Because our color is a pure color, that means there's no opacity, no transparency. It blocks the picture. But it looks okay now, so I'm fine with that. But if you want, you can have a different color by using a different color code. Instead of using hexel code, you can use the RGBA, like what the website used here, to have a opacity effect. That means the transparency effect. For this is the transparency effect, and this is the RGB normal code, color codes. Now this is the more on design, so not really covered in this course. But if you choose one, then it will have a maximum opacity and will look like what we have here. So because I have removed my code, so now it goes back to the old color. Let's refresh. It should be the new color. You can see the website is now in the new color. Then let's look at this title here. We need to change this as well to make the website looks the same. So again, here it's pretty obvious that this is the selector of the home title. But why is this color still this, even though there's no color change here? So if you scroll down, you will notice this color taking effect. So actually, for this particular theme, they try to change the whole HTML body to this color by default. So most likely they have some other selector here to change the text color to gray here. But this is really, I think, not a very good way that they have coded this theme. But let's just, since you are using their theme, let's just use this body here. So we will change the body to the color. And then to change the dotted line color, we need to select that. This is this one. We need to go back up. The home title, and change the color of the border bottom. So let's copy this border bottom here, paste it, and copy this code to have this. Now once again update and refresh the website. Yeah, it's looking like what we want it to look now, like this. Everything looks great. So now let's change again this, this color here. Again, you can see very obvious. This is the selector that is doing that. So let's use this. And if you don't know, we can actually save time by using the same line. By using a comma, we can actually select two selectors at once if we want to have the same design styling. So if I do this, if I update, it should have this. It should have the effect on both of these selectors. Cool. Now we have most of them in blue now. So let's change this as well. Read more text. If you notice that the element that you select doesn't have any relevant, this is a visited, doesn't have any relevant color coding on it, usually we need to change the one in the parent. But the parent is purple in color. Is this purple? No. Most likely, I think maybe it's reading as the visited color. So if you see all these color here that isn't congruent with your theme, it's better to change them. So let's change them. Let's go back. And put the A as well, since it should have the same color for what we want. And update the CSS. Now if we refresh the page, let's see whether it changed the read more text color. Oh, the read more text color has changed. So we changed the read more text color by changing the visitor color, global visitor color, and the A color. So all links are supposedly this color now, unless they are overridden. Lastly, the footer. Let's change the footer color. So we have seen that it's this selector here, is the colorful. So let's just copy all, make it easier, and then we delete the ones that we don't need. So let's paste it here again. Delete those that we don't want to change to minimize the codes, And actually I can, if you notice, I can put it together with this. Should be the same. Unless you want it to be different. If not, you can put it together so that it's really very easy to look at with lesser codes. So let's update and refresh the website. Now you can see that most of our things are now in the correct color that we want. So let's look at, for example, this post. If you notice, the color here is still not really the right one. If we go to About Us, same for the page here. So we need to change some final setup here, the color here, before we can finalize this CSS coding of the website. So remember, when you change some color with CSS that you want to change for a big scale, you need to look at every single page in order to make sure that the CSS effect has the same effect and they are all incongruent with the same color. This is really important to make a website look professional and nice. So let's change this color here. Again, is the entry title with this selector and the border bottom of this. So maybe we can use the same for what we have at the border bottom coding here. I think it's the same here. Let's try this and see what happens. Let's refresh the website. Oh, it's a bit different. It's dotted. You can keep it dotted if you like, but let's not do that. So you can see when we notice something that we don't want, we undo it and we do it differently. So where is this one? So let's remove this. They are not the same. It's a dotted one. I failed to notice that. So let's just put the normal border. So normal border. Yeah. So now let's change this to solid, and it should work. Now if you refresh the website, it has the right border now, but this isn't yet. So let's change this as well. Let's do this fast because it's the same thing. So let's copy. Let's use the same one here because it's the same solid border. So let's just use the same one. Okay, looks great. Now lastly is this part here. So it's the A link. This is still in the old color. So let's copy this over. To override it, we need we can use this here actually. It's the same color. Only the selector. Alright, it's now in the color that we want. Looks uniform now. This is the page. This is the page. So let's go to the post page. The post page might be different, so we better check it. It's the same. So everything looks good. So you might need to add several other menus on the website depending on your corporate website. But just remember to check them, and if everything looks good, then it's good to deliver this to your client. Thank you and see you in the next section of the course.